What happens when a good company rushes out a television licensed MMO companion game for a sci-fi series that hasn't even earned its pedigree yet? Defiance the video game.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, I'm gonna be playing this game. Guess what? Patch error! Patch fucking error! Right when it's about to finish, a patch fucking error, please try again. And then what happens? I press a button, I try again, it starts all over, all fucking over. Again, and again, and again. I couldn't play the damn game for 3 or 4 days.
And unfortunately, if the show is anything like the story or characters in this game, it's not gonna last the season. No one loves sci-fi more than I do. I've watched all the greats on TV. Star Trek, Babylon 5, Farscape, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, and the latest TNT's Falling Skies, which has a nearly identical premise as to sci-fi's Defiance. Coincidence? Maybe, but the timing of this new series seems a bit unfortunate, especially when at first glance it seems rather generic, unoriginal, and cheap looking.
Defiance is essentially an immigrant story set in the near future.
Is the town inhabited by the human and alien survivors of a huge war that has devastated and transformed planet Earth.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair. You know, low budget doesn't bother me, so as long as the stories are good. Who do you have for the story?
We got the opportunity to work with a lot of the same people who had done Battlestar Galactica, both on the writing side and on the production side. It's an amazing crew, there's an amazing aesthetic, they're accustomed to striving for excellence at all costs, and when it came time to do this show, I was like the world's biggest Battlestar Galactica fan, and I wanted that same vibe.
Battlestar Galactica, that sounds good.
Kevin has a great philosophy in the writer's room, which is that you check your title at the door. Anyone can say whatever they think about any episode. You're always free to express your opinion. You're always free at any point in the story break to say, I'm not sure this works. And maybe this version would work better.
No one has ever tried to do anything this complex in a television series before. The possibilities are absolutely limitless.
Okay, you convinced me. I'll give the show a shot. But the game is already out, so how does the game fare?
It's certainly not gonna help the franchise chances if this is the best it can offer players.
So, I've heard quite a lot of people talking about the new game Defiance. It's... oh wow. Yeah. Ooh. Broom broom, motherfucker, broom broom. Just look at this. Oh wow. Woo! Look at me go.
Now, from what I can gather, the story is about aliens forcibly immigrating to Earth. There are a few different species within these aliens, including a robot-looking race.
We have to find Teach, Aaron. So where is he? He retreated with the cell to the Dogtown mine.
A short troll-looking race.
Don't judge me for being scared. I'm not the one with all the weapons. Y ahora me van a comer a mí. Oh, Dios mío!
An alien race that can be distinguished by them having 5 heads.
And you TikTok-ing man, make a big fool of yourself. Yeah, go to Jackson.
You know, their 4 heads have become so big that they are now 5 heads. And they have like a large growth above their noses.
Every time we get ahead, you blow it for us.
This is different.
And there are also hellbugs whose cartoonish appearance seems out of place in an attempt at this realistic portrayal of the future.
Attack the ARKFALL!
The video game, ultimately, is our first opportunity to experience this world. First impressions are everything, and Defiance squanders them. After a character creator that's on the light side of options, I was still able to make a good approximation of Angry Joe. Your silent character is then thrust into the world and matched up with the show's main characters. Joshua Nolan is every rugged, reluctant sci-fi hero ever, while his adopted daughter, Arissa, an alien, mostly grunts, complains, and acts like a spoiled child.
This is fun, right?
I want to punch you. Hard.
Not exactly the best way to introduce your star characters to the players.
It's just a little turbulence. Completely normal.
No, it's not. We're all gonna die.
She's actually quite charming once you get to know her.
By the end of the 5 or 6 level episodic quest line, you will know next to nothing new about these two.
Seems like a good fit.
We need to leave. Now.
More likely, they will have pissed you off, if anything. In fact, that lack of information is prevalent throughout the entire game. It treats you as if this has been a series running as long as Star Trek, or has the lovable and deep characters of a Babylon 5. But there are so many unanswered questions here, presumably so the TV show can answer them for you. It leaves you with this odd sense of being completely disconnected from this universe your entire playthrough. In fact, the wiki pages have more detailed information than anything that you're going to gather during main quests or find in the actual game. Now, there's hidden audio logs, and these are your main source for this world's backstory, but why hide them? And where the hell does the Hellbugs come from? Who destroyed the first alien starships? How did 7 intelligent species end up in the same solar system? It also doesn't help that the game has a serious lack of a compelling storyline. Basically, your job is that of an ARC hunter, looking for an ARC core for your employer, Lex Luthor.
Alleged ARC-tech? There is no alleged, Captain. Do you see this? With this ARC core and the rest of the technology that I'll find in the Bay Area, I will repair this world. And be its hero, of course.
Your flying ship has been shot down, and with the help of a few side characters that you meet along the way, you'll be battling raiders, mutants, and hellbugs while hunting for components to the ARC core and discovering who destroyed your ship. And that's it. It will never stray from this formula. It has no twists, there are no turns, it's just you going through the motions of boring, dull fetch quests without any context at all. It's hard to be excited about the main missions when even the voice actors sound tired and uninterested reading their often awkward dialogue in the game's numerous cutscenes.
He's dead. Why would you even say something like that? I'm sorry. I've spent the last 15 years of my life trying to clean up the fallout from my brother. Just the thought...
If I can interrupt with a less ponderous perspective, there's someone after my ARC-tech. And from what you're saying, they sound pretty evil. So we gotta do something. And we gotta do it like 20 minutes ago.
You said it like an asshole, but he's right. We have to get to the cell before they do.
Thank you. So what do we do?
And is it me, or does John Cooper, one of the main characters, his voice just seems horribly out of place?
On my list of things to do today, helping you find an arc matrix is just behind fucking a Sensoth. But I'll help as a favor to Captain Grant. I'm gonna go talk to Fallon McNeil, local arc hunter, see what he knows. Don't let anyone see that you have the core.
It's as if Tryon couldn't find an African-American voice actor, of which there are plenty of really good ones. Either that, or they just didn't care enough.
No time to ride the line, so let's go!
Cass is the only real character who seems to put in any effort.
You have an ego implant, don't you? That's amazing. First time I've ever seen one in action. You know, I think we're gonna make one hell of a team.
She's independent, interesting, constantly cussing in a hilariously bad way.
What the jack? They send in help now? We already did everything!
Like these variations of frack from Battlestar Galactica, only they're the Defiance versions, like Shit Taco!
Nice. Holy Stacco. You're alive.
and of course, the human classic.
Which one of these dealies opens this bitch?
Unfortunately, she is soon replaced with a number of other side characters that are just as bland as the last.
You're Karl von Bach? I always thought you'd be, I don't know, cooler.
Well, I thought you'd be cleaner, so I guess we're both disappointed.
Don't be a Shivo.
The soundtrack is a mixed bag. Early battle music reminds me of Beverly Hills Cop.
No surrender!
It gets slightly better later on, but the music is so often getting stuck on a loop after a mission that it gets really annoying. Thankfully, the sound design elsewhere in the game is slightly better, with impactful sounding guns and other sci-fi sound effects. Though it should be mentioned that the PC interface is terrible. You can clearly tell this has been built specifically for consoles. Even switching loadouts is a hassle. Thankfully, I had a controller to plug in, and it's leagues better when it's played this way with a controller, which is a real shame for PC players. Defiance, it's just a mess. But admittedly, it's an oddly alluring mess. I keep finding myself playing it even though I wasn't much enjoying any of the actual content. Why? Well, because the game does manage to get three important aspects right: combat, weapon loot, and shadow wars. It combines the addictive nature of finding and modding new weapons with magazines, stock, scopes, and other pieces modeled on the actual gun. With fun, solid combat and gunplay, it feels just like any third-person action shooter should. Think of the gun addiction from Borderlands, only running at about like a quarter of that same effect. Now, the weapons don't really start to get cool until around Ego level 150, which is a bunch of hours into the game, and even then there's not going to be much randomness or variation on damage and effects like with Borderlands, and certainly not as much variation in the actual weapon models, but it's still an addictive grind for better sweet-ass weapons. There are even some advanced weapons as well that you can pick up during certain main missions, which are extremely powerful, but necessary as you mow down countless henchmen.
Oh yeah, who wants a piece? I can barely hold this thing. Oh, dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it. Yeah, oh Jesus, just cleared the area. Clearing the area. Get out of here. Oh, you gonna come out of the building? Okay. Wait, what are you doing? That'll teach you. There you go. What the fuck? Okay, send out the next three. And we'll murder them. Any more? Okay, another three. You guys are just fish in a barrel. Please stop coming out. Please, God. We're like, Billy, Carl, Charlie, go! Oh, thank God it's over.
All right, let's finish this.
Oh my God. Oh Lord.
Now, through that game's ego system, which serves both as an annoying voice in your head and your special abilities, she's sort of like Cortana, through her you can choose between 4 different main powers: Blur, Cloak, Decoy, and Overcharge, along with a ton of additional perks surrounding these. There are clearly some better than others in PvP versus PvE, with no way to save multiple builds. You do get around the large map by driving around on ATVs or Mad Max style vehicles, and it feels like a 90s arcade racer with all the same bad physics. Still, it's a ton better than watching your mount fly around like in WoW where you just sit there and do nothing. It's funny though that the product placement Dodge is the only surviving car manufacturer, I half expected to see Taco Bells littering the landscape.
Oh, yes, can I have a burrito and cheese and yeah, thank you.
This is the type of MMO that even a person who doesn't normally like or even hates MMOs could enjoy. In fact, the game hardly feels like an MMO at all, come to think of it. It has to be the most non-social version in this genre that I've ever played. Oh, you may see people from time to time doing their own thing, or they may end up in your same area helping with a quest or an ARKFALL event, but the chat menu and global chat are buried under so many menus, it's non-existent, no one uses it. Just saved your life? Just defeated an alien horde together? Not a single fuck will be given. And as quickly as you see them come, they're gone in a flash without so much as a peep. And that's Defiance in a nutshell. For every fun moment that you have, it turns around and gets another aspect wrong. Like quest structure, for example. Okay, guys? These quickly become so boring and repetitive. After the first dozen or so, you will notice a pattern that never quits. Basically, you get to an area and you have to activate 3 to 5 panels or defend an NPC against waves and waves of enemies that pop in.
Help! This is not what I signed on for! Look for cover!
We need to clear this area of hostiles.
Most of these enemies are completely brainless too. They charge your position with no regard for their own lives. Raiders will function the same and feel no different than the 99ers or the Shadow guys. Only occasionally a mini-boss will pop in at the end, forcing you to play a more strategic type shooting game and hit their vulnerable areas. The main missions are just so disappointing when you realize that they never deviate from this formula. Never. It got so bad that I was actually impressed by a real boss that would be considered average in any other third-person game. It showed up at the end of a gauntlet from one of the 4-player co-op missions.
Hit his back, hit his back.
Yeah, the power nodes on his back.
Oh, he's got some reach.
Dude, this guy is cool. I mean, why isn't there more like this guy in the actual game? Oh, shit. Hold on, I got one. Yeah, I got it. Damn it. There you go. Oh, there you go. He goes down. He's going down. Shoot him. Shoot him in the chest. Shoot him. Shoot that chest. F him up. Oh, shit.
In these, you basically go into an instance dungeon, fight waves of enemies and corridors, activating panels, until a boss that you wish would appear in the main game world or main story missions, but he never appears in those, just in this. In fact, the coolest looking boss is simply an impassable obstacle on the map until a quest mission blows it up in a cutscene only.
I think it's pretty sweet looking. I'm gonna blow that shit up. What the fuck? Oh, do not. Oh, please don't.
I'm sinking now.
Don't you fucking kill this in a cutscene. Are you fucking serious? Awesome. Thanks.
There is certainly no lack of content here by any means, especially for a subscription-free MMO. You get your money's worth. It's whether or not you will find all of this content interesting or engaging. For most of you, the answer is going to be no. The main campaign takes more than 16 hours, 16 to 20. There's tons and tons of side missions. There's dynamic mini-events like roadblocks and stranded NPCs, you know, like in Red Dead Redemption. Except for they're not that good here. They're too similar to each other, and you'll be ignoring them by the first day. There's also a handful of time trial races. There's the 4-player co-op missions, the ARKFALL events that sort of take from the from Trion's Rift, which are these dynamic events that open up and a bunch of players show up and you have to try to kill a monarch bug or something like that. And this is a good way to grind in the game and get better guns. I just want to expand on this, show you an ARKFALL event. So I'm driving into this one really, really late, but you can do that and you can still get some goodies from it. So you see a bunch of freaking hell bugs all over the place. Usually their backs are vulnerable, so what you want to do is come around and shoot their butts. And got a bunch of electricity. Okay, so there's the mother of all the hell bugs. Not exactly sure if that's the queen bug or whatever, because there are there's a variety of different hell bug ARKFALLs. There's even raider events and things like that in these ARKFALLs. So there you go. It's over. You get something for it. Then you can see there I got 5 keys. You use the keys to unlock the lock boxes, which will give you your items. Not very much experience there, 750. But of course I came in at the very end, and then I got a little bit of credits out of that 500. You use that to buy weapons on sale or new vehicles. But this is why the game is sometimes fun. The gunplay is solid. It's just the issue is almost everything else in the game. Then there is the competitive PvP stuff. 6 vs 6, 8 on 8, team deathmatch modes. But the most fun you will likely have in Defiance are the Shadow Wars. They are these 64 vs 64 large-scale battlefield conquest type matches. They use your loadouts and character from PvE, and when you can get into them, they're a ton of fun. Although right now, shotguns, blur, and cloaking usually dominate the battlefield. Shadow Wars show you an example of an ego kill. So I've got a guy right here, I'm gonna burst him down a little bit, get his attention. Oh, hit me with a sniper rifle in the head, but I pop my decoy, come around, and finish him off there, because he was concentrated on my decoy. So yeah, the ego powers in the Shadow War section of the game are pretty fun. You got blur, overcharge, what I use there, decoy, but most of the people are using cloaks and shotguns.
But then again, if people start doing the shotgun cloak, like let's say in the team deaths, you'll have people switch out and start spamming like the cluster rocket launchers if you do something like that. If you start cloaking around. And decoy can break cloak. It's one of the perks. So if you throw a decoy out, it breaks everyone's cloak in the area, stuff like that.
You'll be fighting for control over various points and trying to deplete the other team's tickets. You can use your vehicles to run people over. Some have even unlocked Warthog type vehicles with turrets that you can have your friends get in. Also, they include some NPC enemies like on the map, like little side things like bandits or aliens. But for the most part, they're just annoying distractions that don't really add anything to the match. You should be focusing on the match, which is what matters. So that is a ton of content. And then finally, there will be weekly or at least periodic tie-ins from the show's storyline. I don't know how often they're going to come about, but you know, unfortunately, despite that game being marketed, Defiance is giving players a chance to change the world and affect the TV show and vice versa.
Both properties are tied together and work as one.
The game of Defiance takes place in San Francisco.
And the TV show takes place in St. Louis, but it's a shared universe.
The events of that virtual world will actually affect the story and the world of our show, and vice versa.
There's never been a time when a television network and a video game company have come together from the start to create something like this.
It's never been attempted before. It is truly at the forefront of immersive storytelling experiences. It's the holy grail of entertainment.
It's been said by both sides, there's not really going to be that much of that here in Season 1, okay? Producers claim that 80% of the show has nothing to do with the game, and crossover potential right now seems limited to just new episodic missions that star those two main characters from the show. Not really an exciting prospect considering how lackluster the first episodic mission was. But if they do get to Season 2, the restraints and the resource limitations come off and that full potential of shit crossing over, all that promise that they made about players being on the show and stuff like that and things happening can be met. But that's a huge if, and I gotta be honest, don't really have a great feeling about the future of either. On the plus side, though, I never felt like I needed to buy anything. I've gotten new cars with script, which is the currency in the game. New outfits come only through main story missions. Players can also buy bits to use for boosts or lock boxes, but thankfully those lock boxes can be bought with in-game currency. It just takes a little while, which is a good thing since they're essentially your only means of real progression and customization in this game, buying and getting new weapons from lock boxes. Also, don't ever buy tier 4 lock boxes, okay? They are overpriced and not worth it for the tiny % chance that you might get an even more orange. Tier 3 boxes, statistically, hell, even tier 2 are the best way to go to get better weapons, even if they have a slightly lower chance for the orange level. It just works out, the math works out, people have already done it, okay? And the tier 4 is just overpriced, so stay away from them. So, average graphics, muddy textures, and I can't say that I ever felt like I really wanted to explore this world. The landscape is very much the same throughout the entire map.
In Defiance, we can present the player with, really unique experience. The level of control that we can have over simple things like weather can dramatically affect the gameplay and the look of the game and the level of immersion that players have.
You have the same vehicles, the same technology, the same flora, the same fauna.
You can inhabit the world as a player that's actively moving through the world of Defiance, and you can turn on the TV and sit back and watch great drama unfold.
We'll be transitioning from the real world to the game world and back again.
The show and the game constantly reinforce each other, and battles in the game might change the outcome of the TV show. Big events in the TV show are immediately reflected in the game.
So, what you've got is a game with a boring story, uninteresting characters, bad acting, repetitive quests, and an interface that's terrible on PC, but good on consoles, very fast. However, it's got solid, fun gunplay, the addictive nature of modifiable weapons, and the potential to get better or worse when the show airs. So that brings me to my final verdict for Defiance, the video game. It's in the middle of the road. It's a 5 out of 10. Now, it could get better, like 6 out of 10 if you're playing with a group from the outset, but it's always more fun to play with friends. But since that's true with every game, I can't really give too much credit there. Defiance is just an average game, in every sense of the word. Sure, it can be fun, but it doesn't do enough to stand out from the crowd, and it feels downright lazy at times. Definitely repetitive. This game has no excuse to have such boring characters, story, and quest design, especially when it's trying to sell us on a new television series. Now, I'm sure some people can force themselves to like it, as anyone can, but it's just not compelling enough content to recommend yet. Maybe it will improve with the show, and I know Tryon will fully support it with updates, new free and paid episodic content, and fixes for many of its issues. But for now, it's an average MMO with fun combat and many glaring issues. It may be worth revisiting this game after about 4 or 5 weeks of the show, episodes. Maybe then there will be more context, more content and improvements, but I don't see it getting any higher than another point or 2 on my scale. We'll see, though, if this is enough to get people interested and stay interested in the television show, and whether we'll get all the really cool stuff in Season 2, or whether this stuff will be canceled before that can come out. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show.